talking about bricks, talking about whatever. My question is, when the hell did it become so in vogue for just everyone to poison the water? Like that's what
Uh,
I
it
don't
it
get.
it does. It happens over the long term. You keep on saying, oh, if you don't stand up, for this, the next thing happens. If you don't stand up for this, the next thing happens. When the first motherfucker poisoned your water for profit, right? You should have shot him into the sun, and we wouldn't have the issues that we have now. But we said, oh, okay, Nestle profits are okay. You can have it for this infinite domain to make this corporation a little bit of extra cash, right? And then by the time you get to today, you've written away all of your water rights for some corporation. They can pretty much come over, bulldoze your house if they feel like there's water underneath it, right? And then you as the community don't get to take advantage of it, right? Nestle gets it for pennies on the dollar.
Right. The Nestle deal
Right.
with Flint was just gross. It was just
So I
fucking
mean, it's as
gross.
simple as that. It really is that like frog in the boiling pot of water, right? If you have a boiling pot of water, you try to throw a frog in there, he'll jump out right away.
Yeah.
If you put him in there and then slowly turn it up, right, he'll boil to death in there. He won't even try to jump out. That's how we get
Absolutely.
Flint. That's how we get Ohio, right? By
Yeah.
the time it gets to that, you're like, fuck, you just blew up a small town in Ohio. And they're like, well, nothing I can do about it. Those are the laws.
Yeah. That's gross. It's
Right?
sad.
That's the moment where that frog is boiling to death. They've turned it up so much where they can blow up a small town and then be like, well, I mean, we'll try to get to something in the future. Let's try to keep this from happening again somehow. And you're like, well, but how? And they're like, there's nothing we can do. We can't enforce anything. We can't hold anybody accountable. You blow up a town in Ohio, someone should be in fucking prison.
Yeah.
Minimum.
And
At
I'm
least
gonna
a few
tell
good
you, they
people.
did an awful lot of burn offs afterwards. Like they're wanting to burn off more of the dirt. Like literally, they want to burn
Well,
everything there over and
that's because
over
once it's
again,
burned
and
off,
it's
it's no
going up
longer.
into the clouds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once it's burned off, it's no longer their problem. There is the vinyl chloride that blew up in Ohio. There is no scientific data that shows burning it gets rid of it in any way, shape, or form. But
Right.
if
It
you burn it,
transforms
it's
it.
no longer exactly. It's no longer their problem.
It transform it to a different gas and a different element when you add heat to something. Anybody knows this. You change what the product is when you apply heat, or you apply dry ice, or you apply nitrogen, or you apply anything different. Even a flame is applying something different. So they're testing for the wrong shit.
They are.
Well, and even then, at
They
the
need to
bottom
be testing
line,
for the chemical compound of what the burn off of that chemical
even
is,
then,
not
at the bottom
that
line, it doesn't
chemical.
poof disappear like magic, right? It either goes
Right.
to the sky, it goes to the water, it goes to the ground. Those are the only three places that it can go. So to pretend like after a massive toxic leak like that it poof just disappeared like magic is an absolute lie.
Right. And speaking of
Exactly.
liars, I do find it odd that the CDC all of a sudden changed their stance on vinyl chloride. They went from saying like a few milligrams in the air was bad to no, a few thousand. That's okay. It's okay at a
Oh no, that's but again, the frog in the boiling water. Every
few.
time there's an accident, they come out and tell you, well, we've raised the limit. What
Yep.
limit? Right? I don't want none of that shit in my water.
Right.
Right? But every couple of years, 10 years, they slowly bump in Lacrosse, Wisconsin. Right? They've had water issues for years. They just come in and say, oh, there's too much lead in your water. We just raised what the limit is.
No.
Right? There shouldn't be a limit. We don't need any lead in our water. Thank you.
Right. We really don't. But the fact that first of all, it's bad enough they put it in the water, but then to just raise the limit is just sociopathic.
Well, and to come out and again lie to the people's
And lying
face,
to them, too.
and with the exact same things, right? All of the congressmen, I wrote a huge thing on it on Twitter. You saw them all, the governors and leadership all standing around, drinking around a kitchen counter. The water is safe to drink now, but it isn't. It wasn't. And everybody that saw that same bullshit they did with Obama brought him out to drink water in Flint to tell everybody it was okay. And what gets me is that there are people that believe it, right? They trust those leaders. They believe them. There are people that watched Obama drink that water tonight and then said, okay, I trust Obama, right? For all of the reasons that they blah, blah, blah gave it to you, they went
Yeah.
home and made their baby a bottle with that water because they watched that night. And that same thing happened in Ohio, right? That same thing happens all the time. But the point is, they use the exact same advertising campaign to get you to once again drink poison fucking water.
It is. It really is. And
And
speaking of
then there's a rise in chemical bronchitis as well around here. I have bronchitis and I can't seem to knock it. Nobody else is getting my bronchitis. So it's like non-contagious. It's because of chemicals.
yeah,
Oh, and we're going to spend the only thing that only people that will benefit from this is the lawyers fighting for each other for the next 20 years until all of the people exposed to those cancer causing toxins, all of that shit die, and maybe their children or grandchildren will get a small payout. Right? We've actually played this game before.
Yeah. There's a reason someone like Aaron Brockovich is a fucking celebrity. Even though she's
Oh yeah, and what they marked her as a terrorist. Do you guys see that?
I want to find her. I want to talk to her. Hey, Aaron Brockovich, if you're listening, can you please message me? Please, a row Pam, okay? Aaron Brockovich,
if you're watching.
No, if Terrence is here, I'm sure you'll get the reach to maybe talk to her. But anyway, speaking
that
of
would be great.
It's crazy because there's a huge amount of celebs that follow me, but they all follow me on like the DL. Like they love it, but they know like they can't be caught hanging out with that kind of riffraff.
No, they can't. You know, it's that limit. Once you get past a certain level of wealth, you really can't be a part of the party. But anyway, speaking of people who understand that, Paul, our guy, everyone's Iceland's favorite, Paul Heimer Einerson says, "Hello, beautiful people." And speaking of the situation we're talking about in regards to people flexing their muscles or whatever, our guy Paul says that the tough guys in Sicily put nitrogen in their gasoline to make their car sound louder. It's the wild, wild west on steroids. What are they stuck in 2002?
Oh, I mean, come on, we're the country that invented rolling coal.
I know.
Like morons stacked upon morons. Germany is now going back to coal. Germany is closing down their nuclear power plants and going back to coal. Last year, Germany was hit with such horrible fucking floods, it flattened entire fucking cities. Remember that lady that was in there? Oh my goodness, I can't believe it happens here. It always happens somewhere else. Is she standing like waist high in water? They're switching back to coal.
If you go through Ohio's train tracks, you can collect enough coal to like heat all of Ohio for maybe like 10 years.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, I believe it.
Coal that just got scattered out of these trucks.
Well, and a lot of times, like they'll make
and falling out.
A lot of times, what these take, like example, Peabody Mining, they're notorious for this kind of stuff. So they'll, at the very end of the company's life, right? That's when they really start. They don't give a fuck. They'll leave coal. They'll leave, sludge everywhere. They don't give a shit because, right, as soon as it finally collapses, they take the last bit of retirement money and then the company goes bankrupt and there's nobody to sue. There is no company anymore. So all of the people that affects, when you go to sue, there's nobody that you can hold accountable. The company no longer exists. Right. And they'll do that over and over and over again as well. You'll see this and you're like, fuck, how did this toxic waste dump end up like this? And it's because at the end of the company's life, they'll just fill the area with everything. Right. Break the laws. Who cares? Because there's nobody to hold accountable once it's gone bankrupt.
Yep.
Well, even here in Ohio, a lot of the Russians bought out the steel companies and shut them down and like kicked out all the employees. And it affected my family in a couple of different places because I had family working in different departments in those places. So they lost their jobs and, having to deal without a pension because you don't get pension. When the company's gone, there's no pension. They give you a buyout.
Yeah, because once they go bankrupt, that's how they clear their debts.
Yeah.
They just give you a little buyout and then tell you to go to the unemployment office.
They recently did something similar with that with Foxconn, and they promised, basically the state paid out millions of dollars to this Korean company, right, to bulldoze part of their town to build this giant structure to make. That's what makes it crazy is they didn't even have like an item that they were supposed to make, just that it was going to be a factory. So they gave them something like $300 million, right? Kicked the small businesses out, bulldozed the thing, all of this, and then the company said, "Actually, we're not gonna do it there anymore." So they just walked away with the cash. But it's something that's weird that like a lot of leadership, a lot of politicians, they keep on coming out with, "Oh, China this and all." You're the person that sent those jobs over there.
Right.
Right? You're the person that signed over to Foxconn and bulldozed all those houses. You don't get to come at us now and complain. Nobody in China did shit to you. You sent our jobs over there.
Yep.
What, are they supposed to take the factory apart and send it back to you?
Right. I mean,
Right? You sent the whole fucking factory over there, and then you're mad that they don't want to work as slave labor anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was.
Right? They didn't do jack shit to you.
Yeah.
And all of the companies that are complaining about it, fine. If you care that much, close your fucking doors and come back to America right now. Nothing's stopping you.
Yeah.
Do you
We
guys
know
keep
why.
track of
We know why
the
they
ship
won't do that.
traffic, the marine traffic? There's an actual place you can watch all the marine traffic that's going on and see what kind of vessels they are. And a lot of it is going down to Antarctica, where it should have been delivered to the United States. Uh, Ships that were anchored in our waters that were supposed to be delivered to us, then they're heading towards Antarctica.
Um, Look at like if you spend any time looking at those maps, there's one related but unrelated. And it shows the shipping routes and this one pod of whales and what they have to go through to try to hunt in their own waters. And you see that like some of these ships are just barely missing them, thousands of times in any direction just for this one little pod of whales to
Hmm.
try to survive. Right? Whatever that fucking system is, I'm not sure if we need it. Right? If that's what international commerce looks like fuck all of that noise.
And we
Yeah.
have the National Science Foundation out in Antarctica. So,
Well, I mean, some of it is like they have to recently, because of the supply chain issues, right? There's actually a bunch of spots all over the world where there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of giant container ships just parked out there. Because it
hmm
goes through the time where the items that they need, you no longer need them anymore. So these ships are filled with stuff that nobody wants, right? And they have to wait for the next big boom to come along. They have to wait for some reason to move this cargo back into our ports. So
Yeah.
they're just sitting in these giant floating cities off the coast
and it's
of
messed
international
up.
waters.
Right.
And it's messed up that they think that cleaning up a mess, really, it's a mess. That it should be cleaned up out of the water. What are we doing, leaving them sit there though?
I
Like,
mean, the
Because
fact that it's like square miles, what square miles, like 62,000 square miles. It's a fucking island of trash.
well, did you guys see the
yeah,
drone footage that we did you guys see the drone footage
No.
that we did over the trash
I've
island?
I've seen Trash Island, like a lot of audio,
So we did the
video, people
Pacific, we
talking
did the
about it.
Pacific, we did the Pacific turtle rescue, and then at the same time, that was out in Fiji, and then at the same time, we moved out and did a beach cleanup on a bunch of the uninhabited islands, and then we went all the way out to do the drone flyover of the trash island there. We got special permission from the Fijian government.
Yeah,
The
I remember seeing your stuff now.
And it was
It's been a
insane.
minute,
You'd
but
get
yeah,
to these islands, and I mean, beautiful, pristine, untouched in any other way, shape, or form. And there were places you had to wade through the plastic. Like that's all you'd see. No humans had actually been to that island, right? But all of our fucking trash was just everywhere, everywhere. Then we went out to some of the atolls where they used to test the nuclear weapons. That's a nightmare the world doesn't even
bikini,
realize is sitting at our doorstep.
Right.
We took in
SpongeBob
the 19.
SquarePants.
That's actually the same islands. In back in the 1940s and 50s, we tested all of our nuclear weapons there, and in the 60s, we took all of the Agent Orange that we had stored up and then put it in old containers and just parked it on this island. It is a fucking miracle that it has not already collapsed. And the moment that it does, the Pacific is over.
Fuck.
Right? It is the biggest ecological disaster that the world does not know about. The moment that they go, and I've got pictures on my page of the rusty barrels, they're 1950s barrels just sitting out in the open. And the moment that they go, we are so fucked.
Then well, how do
Right?
they,
It will poison, it's enough Agent Orange to poison the entire Pacific.
Jesus Christ.
Fukushima will seem like a good deal. And every single, they're already leaking.
Continue. And that will keep and continue throughout the rest of the world.
Then how do we then how do people like focus on cleaning that up?
We gotta think fucking big. Elon just launched a rocket, launch that shit into fucking space. If you want to get rid of it, get rid of it.
I mean, we
could
just
send
drop
it to Mars. They want to go to Mars.
We just spent
so
$300 billion on fucking Nazis, right? Launch that shit into space. You got the money.
We should take that and drop it off at Ed Higgins's place in Minnesota.
No, get that shit off my fucking planet.
Okay,
no, you take Ed Higgins and you put him with it. You put him with it. You stick him on top of the barrels and you send him along with it.
Nah, he's scum, but not that I would spend the time to wipe off my fucking shoes. No, launch that shit into space.
All right, we'll launch Ed and that shit into space. All right, agreed.
Hey, you do what you got to do.
It's unanimous.
Hey, what is it they always tell us? What is it they always tell us? You got to break some eggs to make an omelet. What can I say?
Exactly. Ed Higgins there, stealing your furniture. Oh my God, I'm going into space.
Oh, that guy is absolute, and it hurts all of us. It's not just Ed. There's a whole group of them. We were talking about it earlier in the show, right? And there's a whole group of them. It makes actual activists, right? People that are really putting work in our lives so much harder. And they got, they're out there. They got
you all if you all go to Mars. Go follow Elon to Mars.
Please, fuck off.
Go be Elon's, Brody's, whatever along the way. Go be.
But it's one of those, you can't be an activist and be rich. Those things are opposites. No. And there's it's not just Ed, it's all sorts of people in the activist sphere. They've got mansions, they're not building homeless shelters, they're not even building food kitchens. If you've got a bathroom in your fucking laundry room, right, for the bathroom in your laundry room, then you need to be building food kitchens, but they never do. They'll get on here and hit you up for $20 in donations, right, so that they can buy another fucking mansion.
Right.
So they can buy another sports car. So they got yachts, the works, and still hit you up for another $20 to keep the lights on. Spend your money.
It would be cheaper for them to buy a modest home and buy an old hotel and set it up for the homeless. Fix up an old hotel. And, how hard is that?
Not very.
But use it, but no, you need to use your own money to do it.
Right.
And that's not donations money.
Churches from the donations.
Oh, that doesn't.
Should be using it.
I don't even know where to get started on that.
that sounds.
Why do they need the parsonage so freaking huge?
Right.
Oh, there's some of them, and what is it? What's that guy's name? We're always posting the picture of him as Ferrari. He's one of those multi-billionaire preachers.
I try to not pay attention to them anymore. They're too.
It's just insanity. It's insanity. I hope Jesus does come back. I'm giving him your address. He's gonna want his fucking car.
Right.
Yeah.
Of all those, the people who claim to be like pro Jesus that don't even realize that they're doing everything against the Bible or doing everything against his teachings. They're gonna learn the hard way when the resurrection comes back.
Well, I mean, some of it is human nature that they take full-on advantage of. Like the people that take advantage of others for their spiritual or religious beliefs, they're predators, right? That's a special kind of predator.
It is.
Right? Like a lot of times it really isn't their fault. The people that are that are praying, they really are praying for good things. They really do hope that this brings good to the world, but they are being manipulated by a charlatan, right? They're great at it. how they speak, right? Their clothes, the whole fucking part, the whole thing, right, is made specifically to take advantage.
No, you are right. It's hard to take pride in a dying empire.
It is. And I'm
People,
utilizing my tools that I was given my rights to hang this the way I do because of all that tyrannical shit that's been going on.
right.
But I
Like,
mean, it has to be, look, they raised the retirement age by 2 years in France, and France lost their fucking mind. There
Yep.
doesn't seem to be a limit to what they can do to us here in America, and we'll do nothing about it.
Nope.
Right? So, I mean, yeah, of course, Germany's going to have to raise money to feed kids. We're not going to do it. We're waiting for some celebrity to do it. We're
Jerk.
waiting for some rich asshole to do it. We're waiting for the government that caused most of these problems to come in and do it. And that's never going to happen. If we are going to survive, if we are going to overcome, it will be despite our leadership, not because of them.
right.
But again, we raised $6 billion with a B for this last election, right? Normal voters, and most people don't even vote, right?
Yeah.
That was just the people that actually voted that put money to that.
Yeah.
Right? We raised them $6 billion. Everybody involved in the campaign, both the guys running for office, right, running for the presidency, were multi-millionaires.
Yep.
And we raised them $6 billion. Again, it was only supposed to cost $6 billion to end child hunger altogether.
Yep.
Now, if we can give them $20 to buy new fucking Corvettes and gold-plated toilets, right, then we can come together and do it. But again, we have to fight both their corruption and the corruption that's inside of activism.
Yep.
Right? Not it's. I'm not saying is a name a podcaster / activist, right? That's also living in a $10 million home. You're not an activist. Stop pretending.
Right.
Right? You don't need money to keep the lights on. You don't need people's donations.
Right.
Right? But if people are willing to give it to them, that's on us.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course they'll take it.
Yeah.
I find it funny when Selena Gomez, when she was live streaming and she was receiving all this money and she thought it was pretend, like it wasn't real money. And somebody in her family had to say, no, that's real money. And she was telling everybody, cancel it. Take back your money. I don't want your money. Like,
wow.
You know, she would
Oh,
not
there's
take
times
any of
where
that money.
it'll blow your mind. Whether it's wildfires, whether it's hurricanes, we'll be struggling to get people supplies, to get people aid, and whatever new trendy bullshit that some celeb goes on, right? They'll make millions off of it.
And they should take it and use it for, causes of what's going on, like to get clean water to a location that needs water, to some people who need shelter, or, from a disaster like what happened in East Palestine. All those people should have been able to go move outside the area in a secure location, or, be able to have a bed, a flushing toilet, running water, and, a fridge and a stove, somewhere where they can take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of my point about the waiting for the ultra rich that are never going to help. There are plenty. We just bailed out the banking industry, right? What part of their huge debt is a huge amount of real estate debt, right? Houses. And the taxpayer will buy that debt, but then there's an emergency. Those banks don't come up and be like, actually, we got a whole bunch of empty houses, right? That you guys just bought. We should be able to work this out. Our leaders never bring it up.
Nope. And the banks.
And those two things are happening at the same time, right? Ohio, right? East Palestine, Ohio, and us bailing out of these banks is happening at the exact same time.
Right.
And not a single leader said, hey, you guys just blew up a bunch of our fucking houses. Here's a bunch of houses.
Right. But you know what's the crazy part about it? Most of these banks don't even want to own the houses. That's why they'll sell them for like 10% of it. 10%, 10 cents on the dollar, and yet
what they're dealing with, that's the point. They're dealing with debt. It really has nothing to do with the houses. They move debt back and forth to each other. That's part of having a fiat currency. That's how they make money. And I mean create money.
Right, fine. But my point is the fact that if all these houses can be bought on 10 cents of the dollar, why haven't we bought enough houses and then put the homeless in some of them?
Because they can sell that debt back and forth to each other until the houses turn into a field again.
Right.
They'll never help. I mean, it isn't like why won't they help out the poor? Because they do not give a fuck.
No, it's not why won't they. Why haven't we done stuff like that? Is what I'm saying.
Because we don't want to. We don't want to.
Right. We should be going to fucking every foreclosure. If it was this bad, we should be going to every foreclosure.
I could walk in tomorrow with less than $1 million and buy up hundreds of distressed houses all at once. They don't want to. Why? Okay, yeah, take this from their perspective. They're a multimillionaire that owns.
They don't want to do that. Why aren't people crashing these auctions and doing that to feed the homeless?
You've given all of your money to fucking Jimmy Dore.
Right. There you go.
Right? Like who is going to go and do that? You've given all of your money to multimillionaire activists. They could, they're
And
not
then
going to.
and then a lot of them, the tithes that they pay into the churches, and then they go and are
Right.
paying these ministers, priests, whatever, to go live in freaking their own basic town. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
why didn't
how
you come
big these
together
parsonages are.
and buy a house for the homeless because you bought your pastor a new $500,000 Cadillac?
Exactly. And that's the thing that's
Right.
fucked up. And and not to make this too personal, but remember we had like Op Flint in 2019, right? We were in Flint, Michigan. Month before, like a month or two before, we were like talking about, hey, you know what? Let's fundraise. Let's get people to fundraise. And what were these retards doing? They'd say stuff like, oh no, we don't have the time to activate. We don't have the time to, help out. We don't have the time to do that. We don't have the money to donate. But then they'd give all their money like to Bernie Sanders and fucking phone bank for him in July of 2019. It's like the year before the primary. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You guys
Well, I mean,
play
I do on some. They don't trust us. I do understand some of that because you've got a sea of people, right? You support Black Lives Matter, but the heads of Black Lives Matter bought not just one mansion, several mansions.
Yeah,
They didn't buy low income housing,
right. So,
right? And people still give. People are still giving. They're still making millions a year.
Right. I mean, BLM is terrible, but I'm not even talking about that. It was like, but these are supposed to be like.
It's not BLM. It's that same pyramid scheme over and over and over and over again.
It was not like that.
Well, yeah, but we were a very small group of truly dedicated people.
Right, and that's
like
no, my point.
A small group of dedicated people can get some serious shit done.
Right, my point being is
That
like
was
they
a
should have
feat,
been
though.
given those resources to Op Flint instead of losers like Bernie Sanders. We can't.
I agree. I agree.
Right.
How many years have you heard me fighting this battle?
A lot. And
as I'm handing supplies out to people that are suffering from fucking wildfires, hurricanes, fucking floods, whatever it is, and we're still out here being like anybody, like I'm one single dude.
Right. That's what pisses me off about it. I was like, all these assholes who claim to care about the issues, causes, all these hardcore leftists who want to help the poor, help the ones in need. Where the fuck are they when people actually need their help? Nowhere to be found.
They're never on the. They're not. But again, they're not going to be. At what point do we ask? At what point do we start actively looking for people that we can trust? Actively looking for people that are actually working.
Right.
Right. If it's one of those things. If you look at somebody and they say some good stuff in a podcast, and then you look and all they've ever done is podcasts, they're not an activist.
Right.
Right. Podcast. What we're doing here is the least that we can do.
It's minimal.
Right? Talking to each other is the least we can do. It only mattered when we're showing up to Flint and emptying truckloads of water and water filters, right? That's where the work's at. When we're getting shit to Puerto Rico, right, during the middle of a fucking hurricane, when the government's telling them there is no help coming, and we're all like, nah, we're on our fucking way.
That's what it should be about.
Right? But we put them being on the screen, them being on the TV, them being on a YouTube as actual action. And that's not the case.
Oh, but the worst part is when you tell them that, especially these truthers and critical thinkers and researchers, they say, what the fuck's wrong with you, Harsh? Then speaking up about it is doing something. No, it's not. It's fucking not. Okay?
People want
fucking live stream saying, oh my God, we live in a children, we're sex slaves. Ain't shit. It ain't shit. You ain't doxing a pedophile. You ain't helping the cause. All right.
I agree. And we got it. Like, we have to actually search for people that are doing the work, right? That are actually doing it and not just talking about it. And most of the time, if they're wearing designer clothes, they're in a fucking mansion, they've got a multi-million-dollar fucking studio, they're not down for the cause.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Right.
And even what makes it worse is they're covering stories. They're covering stories, right, of people that are, right? When most of these newscasts, podcasters and the actual news, they're showing a video of some poor bastard standing there with his cell phone.
Right.
They're not even on the ground. They're covering what other people are doing. Why aren't
Exactly.
you donating to the guy who's holding the fucking phone?
Exactly. There you go. And that's the thing that pissed me off again. I don't like this is the thing that pissed me off about Bernie supporters and leftists the most. It's like put your money where your mouth is, or drive where your mouth is, or drive off a cliff. Seriously, you claim about the active issues, causes, policies, want to help the poor, then you reach out to people like Terrence Daniels and help them do that. If not, go consider the benefits of suicide. I'm done. This is why the
Wow.
elites want to depopulate the earth because they're tired of this hypocritical nonsense. I'm at the
I
point
think
where
it's
I'm actually cheering on the wealthy to start killing off these retards. That's how pissed off I am. Really?
it's gonna take eventually somebody is going to be the real deal. That's
Right.
all there is to it, right? I'm not saying, when you're not like it doesn't have to be me. If somebody puts it in there and says, look, we will make this of course I will never fuck you guys over. I've been doing this for a long time,
Yeah.
right? Right? I got street cred
Yeah.
beyond street cred. That is not the problem. But I
Right.
understand why they don't trust them. Right? They've given it to all of these celebrities. They've given it to the Feed the
Well,
Children's
that's their
programs.
fault.
They've given it to the this foundation and this movement and that Twitter
r-
hashtag, and nothing ever comes from it. So then when you
Right.
see somebody, who do you trust?
That I would
Right.
trust you more than I trust some fucking politician. And that's it pisses me off about these morons. They talk about how smart they are. They know what's wrong with the country, but yet they give off their fucking monthly rent to some fucking going backstabbing Benedict Arnold instead of at least donating a few dollars to the good people of Op Flint. It's
Well,
like
I mean, some of it I feel that we're, as humans, primates, we may be hardwired to want to follow somebody, right? It may be the same as the silverback gorilla, why his family follows him. That may be something that's hardwired into humans.
right,
That, yeah, you could do it yourself, but something in you, we're supposed to be this group. There's someone out there, someone powerful, some leader that's going to take over, and it may be something that is hardwired into
right,
being a primate. That is kind of how our social structure works.
right. I mean that.
Unfortunately, the corrupt are the people that are able to take advantage of that the easiest.
Right, but this is what I don't get. These are the people that are supposed to know how to research, know how to investigate, know how to realize who's corrupt and who isn't. It's your job to realize to be doing that with activists as well. If you're too stupid to do that, don't ever call yourself a researcher or a critical thinker. I'm like I said,
Some of them
Right.
are good at it. Some of them are good at it. By the time they're doing their fundraising thing and all of it, we got to keep the lights on, keep the story going. They really they do take advantage of the fact that they have fans. Those are fans.
Yeah, that's there you go.
Fidel Castro, right, was asked if he could go back in time in an interview. He's asked if he could go back in time during the revolution, what he would do different, right?
What did he
And he
say?
said, I raised an army of tens of thousands of Cubans, right? They marched in the streets. They did for the revolution. I could have done all of it with 100. Meaning
Jesus.
that 100 out of all of those people that claimed to be down for the cause, right? There were only 100 that were pivotal in making that change in his revolution, right? For everybody in the street, for all the signs, right? For everything that was going on, all of it, right? He could have done it with 100
Yeah.
because that was how many people and how many it took to overthrow dedicated, right? But who were actually down for the cause. It doesn't take a lot.
Right.
Right, but most of the people they just want to give $10 and feel like, fuck, I did something for the cause, I helped something.
Right. I mean, if
Right,
you
I
give
work a
them $10,
45-hour
whatever.
week, you know what I mean, if not more. I can't afford my mortgage, can't afford fucking food for my kids, my SNAP benefits are getting taken off. Of course I want to help starving children, but my kids are about to be fucking
No,
starving.
if that's the case, that's fine. But my issue is when these people say that one minute when it comes to like Op Flint, and then the next minute they'll travel for Bernie, they'll donate their money to Bernie. Their time's like, what the fuck is wrong with you
I
retards?
I struggle with it. I definitely struggle with it. But
I
I
just
also
said they can
figure
take the plastic bag challenge. If they're that fucking
we,
stupid, take the plastic bag challenge. You deserve to be homeless. I'm sorry.
we're still here. We're still fighting. And maybe it is just that you hit that limit, right? Where people see what you've done, trust what you've done, whatever. I don't know. It may never work.
That's a
Right?
2019
But I've
question.
struggled with this for years in several things. I'll post something, it'll get a million retweets, and you'll be like, this is the stupidest video I've ever posted.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to donate to the fucking turtles. Right? But that's just the way it is. There may come a point where you hit that critical mass and people see it. Right? I much
Well,
rather build, a real following over time of people that really are down for the cause and see the good works that you're doing than be crazy famous and have all that the next day. Most of those people fail, right? 1 minute, they're the only voices that you hear, the only names that you hear. And then the next time, the next year, nobody can remember their name,
right. But
right?
I
They're
mean,
not doing very
it
rarely. But on the same note, I struggle with it all the time.
right.
And
I
we just
mean,
have to stay at it.
right. No,
Now,
that's
I want to
fine.
know how we're going to get hemp in Ohio to be able to clean up all this,
Terrence,
disaster.
I field that question to you while I go to the bathroom.
Step one is getting it removed from Schedule 1, because until it's removed for Schedule 1, we can't even do real research. So, I mean, the
Right.
goal with that we have seen that cannabis is able to clean the environment, both with some radioactive testing that was done in Chernobyl, and some other toxins and stuff that it does. It uses the roots and cleans the toxins out of the environment. We may be able to look in that kind of research in areas where there is this spills. After you clean it up, it's one of the crops that you have to put there to clean the environment. But until it's removed from Schedule 1, we don't even have the ability to go down that road for research. And some of
Right.
the plant that does it the best may have THC in it. Right. And right now, the only way that you can even attempt to use hemp is that it's crazy low THC. It's like genetically altered to not produce THC, and it's not the natural form of the plant. And we may find that that works better. We might find that works worse. We may find that there's another strain that does it even better than that. But we're not able to do that research until it's removed from Schedule 1.
Right. Because, yeah, it would really help out a lot with what's been going on because of that East Palestine train derailment. And it
Um,
would be good if we can plant it all the way up our waterways and all that along the shorelines of any water and allow the roots to grow into a big system and like clean up the soil up underneath these water areas and like stir them up with the already grown roots and like clean it up that way and create like
well,
moss
in
pretty much to go through the water and just even let them sit in there and see how that will change
Well,
the
and some
water
of it is
quality.
definitely a mindset, right? We're still at the we have to stop polluting our environment mindset. The next step
Right,
after that, that's zero, right? Step one is actually turning around and cleaning the environment. So the systems that we create are not just at zero, but are actually taking these toxins that we've been putting into the environment for the last, 150 years back out. So, when we have dam projects, right? Why is all that water going through the dam and not creating electricity and cleaning the water?
right,
Right? When you think of how we're building stuff, we don't build things right now that are designed to clean the water, right? Big, lock and dam systems don't clean the water, and they should. And these are well within what human engineers can achieve. Right? These are actually not all that hard for human engineers to achieve. Will there be a industry just making giant water filters? Definitely. I'm okay with that.
Doesn't that
because
industry
yeah,
already
this just
exist?
doesn't involve
Not
Ohio at
really.
that point of what happened in East Palestine. It just doesn't involve Ohio. It involves Pennsylvania and it involves West Virginia, and it's going to be continuing clear down through Virginia. I mean, all the way even up
But let's say
to
there
Lake
is a spill
Erie through
somewhere.
the Ohio.
let's
So,
say there
you
is a
know,
spill somewhere. We don't come in with machines that we drop in rivers where they come together that are specifically designed to clean the water on the way out, right? We just let it go. Now that machine is not some technological, crazy futuristic advance. We could build that right now. I could build that right now.
yeah,
But those kind of technologies don't exist because the mindset isn't there yet. We're still in the user's mindset, right? We're not in the fixer's mindset yet, right? And until we get out of that, we got to go, you know what I mean? Step zero is that we stop dumping raw sewage and chemicals into our drinking water, right? Step two is that we have
especially
to take
pharmaceuticals. The
we have to
pharmaceutical
take those
departments
chemicals back
are
out of the water.
bad because Puget Sound was contaminated even back in 2011 whenever I was there in Tacoma and Seattle, Washington, hanging around the market and Rachel the pig over out there, and you can tell by the water how dirty it was just by looking at it and the smell that was coming off of Puget while I was there. And that was a long time ago, well over a decade now.
Yeah,
So,
most of our waterways used to be clear water, right? The Hudson River used to boil with how many fish came up it, right? Spawning like they do in Alaska. That doesn't happen anywhere now. Everywhere they're everywhere. Our water has been poisoned. We have to undo that. But the point is, undoing that is not some crazy feat, right? Those
Right.
right.
technologies exist now, and if we put any money into doing it, they would create more industries. I'm happy with that. I hope we do,
Right.
but we're nowhere near to that point yet. We're still trying to convince people not to like just chuck plastic bottles out their fucking windows,
Right.
right?
It
Or
was
I,
load
that
it
old
onto ships and
commercial.
smash it
Do
into
you
Africa.
remember? Do you remember that old commercial with that Native American that
yep.
was standing on the side of the highway and somebody throwing their trash
And he
right
started
into
crying.
the Native American's face, basically saying that, you need to clean up your trash.
But I mean, I wonder how much of it we're not looking at this as a resource yet, and I hope that we do someday. We need to build spacecrafts, and spacecrafts require plastics. Why are we not, collecting all of this up and not just recycling it, but recycling it and then moving it off the fucking planet, right? Because we
Right.
need those plastics to be space stations, spacecraft, satellites, all of it. Fair enough, right? Use this plastic, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Fish it
There you
That's
go.
out. Pay
win-win.
the fishermen.
Right.
Pay the
Well,
fishermen
that's
to
what
go
we
fish
did.
that shit out. And I know, and that's
That's
why I
what
bring
we
it up
did.
is keep continually paying these fishermen to come fish the plastics out, and you'll in the end get more money than what you would if you were fishing fish.
Well, and that's what, when you guys talk about donations, that's the kind of things that when you donate to us, that's what your donations go to. So we went to Fiji with that whole ocean plastic cleanup. That's how we made that whole thing work. There was a bunch of fishermen that were out of work, right? It's just the seasons and all of it. They had nothing to do. So we bought a precious plastic machine and we paid the fishermen to bring back, right, plastic in their nets the same way as they would fish. And we paid them for the plastic. And then we use the precious plastic machines to turn the plastic into medical tables, school stuff, right? I mean, absolutely everything that you want. It's a recycled
You can
plastic
make
3D printer.
lumber. You can make
Anything that
lumber
you
out
want,
of
little blocks, anything that you wanted. But we can see some of it as a resource, and use it as a building material.
right.
That's win-win until we completely replace it with better things. Hemp plastics exist, right? Like all sorts of ways to use to make a little container, right? This isn't rocket science. We just need something to hold our drink in,
Right.
right?
Integrate
They
it
make
into the
they
existing that's already there. Integrate it with it for a little while if you need
These just
to
aren't
start the
quite as
process.
difficult problems as they
Like,
sometimes make it sound, right? Like they make it sound like if we don't use plastic bottles, they just can't figure out the fucking world, right? And I don't believe that. You can make that plastic bottle out of anything. This isn't a religion for me. I could give a shit what I drink my soda out of. But to them, it's some sort of, it's almost like a religion when you talk to them. When you talk to them about not using oil anymore, it's not just an energy source. They react as if you're insulting their God.
Well, to be fair, their
Exactly.
god
And that's
is
creepy as fuck.
well.
That's creepy as fuck.
Well, to be fair, their god is John D. Rockefeller, so they do worship him at the altar every single day. So them in the medical industry both.
Ugh. Ugh. We can do better. We can do better.
Just letting you know that. Just letting you know.
We can do better.
Dude.
Like it's something that gets me. We've got all of the tools we need. Right? Like we really that's what makes it crazy, because at this time, at this very moment, we really don't need the elites. We could move on without them. When they say something, it's like, you know what, we're just not gonna do that anymore. Thanks
Right.
though. Thanks for playing.
Exactly.
Right? But we for some reason are hell bent on following the corrupt just because they said so. Marijuana legislation is a perfect example. Right? It's like 87% of the population believes in decriminalization, medical marijuana, all of it. Stop enforcing it. No. Just stop enforcing it altogether. Don't wait for Biden to stop, sucking the dicks of the prison industrial complex. Right? Don't wait for any of them. Just stop playing with them.
Right.
Do what you're going to do, and don't waste time. Police don't enforce it. The feds don't enforce it. Us as people just said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore.
Right. That's
And you can name several like the issues around the globe that we can just be like, you know what, guys, hard pass.
right. I mean, that's what happened.
Well, we're gonna have to wait till 2050. Actually, no, we're doing it now. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks for playing.
That's what happened in most states in this country. That's why there's only like a handful of states that are where it's still criminalized. Where everywhere else, especially.
Well, you were talking in the intro. You were talking about BRICS. Perfect example.
Right.
Where the world eventually is just like, you know what? Okay.
Right.
They're going to move on without you.
Right. Now, the only issue I'd have with that is you might have the same pollution and industrial issues you have now that with them that you have with the U.S. But that being said,
I can only control. It's a weird thing because a lot of people, there's like the point the finger at China thing. Well, China's polluting. I don't give a fuck. I don't live in China.
I'll be right back in 1 minute.
Right.
Right? I live in America, and I would like our water to be clean.
Exactly.
The fact that China's poisoning its people fucking sucks, and I hope that we can use all of our, political and economic influence to get them to change. But I don't live in China.
Yeah.
I'm talking to my politician. I want that motherfucker to take action.
Exactly. There you go. All I can do is, it's the old adage, think globally, act locally, because that's all you can do. I mean,
100%. And look, when China wants to go through a change in political/economic systems, they did it.
Right.
Right? They don't need, if they feel like they would like to make a change, they will 100% do it.
Right.
Right? But looking on the other side, I can only control my country and what it's doing. And to tell me, oh, well, Flint's water's poisoned because China's polluting, go fuck yourself, man.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. If people believe that nonsense. I mean, that being said, it's just stupid how quickly people just deflect on that. It's like, I'm not even saying like India, China, or whatever, they don't pollute their fair share. It's just clean up America first.
Yeah, that's fine. We can be the shining light and future of the world. I don't understand. Either you want to be first and you want to lead, or you don't.
Right. I mean, that's really all that matters. And that's the thing that's annoying. It's like everyone talks about that as if like America's so great. I mean, I feel like being a first generation born and brought up here, where everyone else in my family are immigrants, almost everyone else. My parents are immigrants. I feel from a third world country. I feel like I'm living in a third world country half the time.
Oh, well, you can't get basic services. There is a cool movie shine over America, right? We move our homeless to places where you don't see them, right? Like we like to be under the illusion, you go into somewhere, food deserts, you can't go, there's no actual real food anywhere fucking near you, but there's stores everywhere.
Right.
right? There's an illusion that's over the American system that sometimes hides the reality that's here.
Right. If this country wasn't not, if this country didn't have so much entertainment options, there's no one would deny that it's a third world country. They had so much land and so many entertainment options. That's all it is. And a military. That's it. That's the reason people call it
A massive military budget. It doesn't always translate into military. It just translates into military budget.
right. But still, it's like if it wasn't for the military, if it wasn't for our entertainment options, if it wasn't for the space of land that exists in this country, no one would be no one would be even talking about this country as a first world country. Everybody talking about it as a third world country. And like Bro said, there's commercials in Germany talking about feeding starving Americans.
It's not that we're a third world country. It's that we're an empire overextended. Okay, and this happens with any empire that overextends itself. Look at India. There was a time where the UK had convinced itself that actually owned India on the other side of the world, right? And they still are trying to convince themselves they own parts of the Caribbean on the other side of the planet.
Yep.
And because of it, to try to prove that, they overextended themselves, right? Rome tried to push itself all the way up into Germany, right? It overextended itself. The Romans, right, the people that were home, they weren't getting their bread stipends, right? They came a hold of because your empire tries to overextend itself. And that's what we're seeing. We have plenty of money, we have plenty of resources, we have plenty of industry, as did all of those countries. But we convinced ourselves that we don't just take care of America, we actually own the world all the way over to China and all the way over to Europe. And that's not true. And us discovering that, we're either going to pull back and focus on making America a livable place again, or we're going to collapse trying to tell other countries what to do as they move on to another economic system.
It's not a surprise that once the British East India Company went under, less than a century later, less than 70, 80 years later, Britain lost all its properties, lost all its colonial properties.
Well, and that's what I said, like that whole mindset, that whole territorial colonial properties. You convinced yourself, an Englishman, that England actually owns India and that you bought property there because you owned it. None of that makes sense. And it's very hard for empires to come to terms with that. Some of them have full-on temper tantrums and collapse, right? Rome had a full-on temper tantrum and collapsed, right? It's mercenaries that it was hiring as it collapsed, right? We're probably going to have if we go down that road, a similar issue with Ukraine, where our mercenaries, right, turn on us. That happens when empires reach their very, very end. Now, England eventually did decide that it actually doesn't own India. India is doing way better because of it, right? It's the second most powerful country in the world, right? The biggest manufacturing power in the world. It is doing way better because it really wasn't part of England, right? That whole mindset was a lie.
But see, the thing is, it wasn't even part of England even in the payday. It was a part of the East India Company.
Right, in the same way that the Green Zone and Syria are part of the Exxon and Shell company.
Right, exactly.
Right, so as soon as those companies are no longer operating in the equivalent of India, right, they will collapse. Now, whether we extend ourselves right beyond that and try to hold those territories, which England did try, right? They mowed down Indians with machine guns, right? But at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, there are 250 million Americans and there are billions of Chinese people. We don't control them. There are billions of Indians.
Hello.
We don't control them. Right? There are 250 million Americans. We are in that same position that the East India Company was. We convinced ourselves that we control huge amounts of territory that we don't. And it's not, as long as we keep the people there convinced that we control them, that's fine. But we're starting to get to the point where they're no longer buying it and they have an alternative economic system.
Right.
Those two things together are what are losing us power.
Yep.
And then whenever you have too many business mergers and then mom and pop shops end up lost along the way, like I would rather go shop at a mom and pop shop, but they're very far few in between anymore that you're almost made to have to go into stores that you'd prefer not to.
Walmart, Target have eradicated U.S. small business. Now, oddly
Yeah.
enough, eBay and Amazon, right, have kind of revitalized a little bit of it. And that's one situation where I'll explain to you why.
All right, explain
In
that to us.
It's one situation where small businesses and people to small businesses. People get on able to sell their merchandise without having to go through Walmart. Especially during COVID, a lot of small businesses got and I mean mom and pop businesses, right? Family businesses
Mhm.
got a
Mhm.
boost in people going online and buying from eBay. I want to buy my country pancake mix from Country Pancakes in Washington State. Right. And people went
Yeah.
out of their way to source small businesses, which is something that hasn't happened in a very long time. But in general, the Walmarts and Targets of the world have destroyed small businesses altogether,
They
all the
have.
way down to the part to the the tool stores, right? Like it's we did that to ourselves. When you go to Europe, they've got a lot of rules that keep those giant chain stores from moving in, and it's almost all small businesses.
There.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, that's.
I
I
know
remember when
even
they.
when I was there, when I was growing up, Walmart had tried to make a couple of like runs into Germany, and it just wasn't destroying every small business in Germany, just wasn't a business model that worked for them.
Right. I mean, the fact that Walmart's actually losing losing branches is actually kind of cool. Like they're going out of business in certain parts.
I don't think that every single town in America needed a Walmart. Like that was designed specifically to destroy businesses in that
It
town.
was
And
Yeah,
I'll
and
tell
now
you,
that they don't need
Walmart
them, they'll shut them down.
right.
and Walmart's been in my area since I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. And I'm 40 now, so it's been a while since we've had a Walmart. And I didn't
Well,
like
and
it.
people
Like,
rely on it, right? Adults, they've lived their entire life. You know,
Oh man,
a 25-year-old has lived their
Yeah, you know
entire
Scott.
life.
Oh,
mhm,
They've
Scott's
never
out there,
known what it was
bro.
like to have small businesses, small clothing stores, like any of that.
Well, Terrence, I'll tell you what. Scott Jr. and I had to go to Walmart, and because Olivia took us there, and because that's the only place we could get everything we need to get done. Otherwise, I have to wait online for these damn idiots, and no, I don't care about my roots. So, Scott Jr. always told me that about Walmart. I'm like, that's terrible because it's like the charm is that for. I mean, I know it sounds self-centered, but when I see like a Walmart, it's depressing. And when you see like all these small businesses in a local area, like all these little bodegas, you're just like so charming and
mhm.
so happy, and you're just like, you just feel like a kid at a candy store. And when you see all these like damn conglomerates like Walmart and Dollar Tree, like, ugh,
Well, I mean,
ugh.
it's
It's
because
like, ugh.
most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. They would go anywhere else. They can't afford to go anywhere else but Walmart.
Right.
And I'll tell you, one town in Ohio, Dresden, Ohio, fell apart because of industries like Walmart and Target and things like that. Where Longaberger Basket was the largest basket in the world. In Dresden, Ohio, they had the largest basket, and then they had a Popeyes. It was not chicken. It was Popeyes. It was a family business. It was like the soda shops, like from the 50s, all set up and flower pots everywhere in Longaberger baskets all up and down the streets. And it was beautiful. And now it's like dead. And the restaurant's not open anymore. There's like very little shops still open down there, like next to nothing. And because of those industries moving in nearby,
Yeah.
it like shut down a whole town.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, it's sad because it's more than obvious, right? Like, we saw it
Mhm.
happen. We see the entire thing and we did nothing about it.
No.
That combined with sending all of the manufacturing overseas, what else was it, that was specifically designed. You couldn't have made it any better to destroy the US small business.
Right.
And the
I mean, I just
factory there could have been utilized as something for teaching, like set up a whole bunch of different type of skill trades and show the people how they work and actually hands on and let people get some
Well, we're not.
training and something to like keep moving forward and helping the homeless with, learning a new skill that could potentially help them further themselves. Even single moms, dads, whatnot, that needs a little help with like taking care of their family and, whatever, have like a little community hospital in there for the area or whatnot.
Well,
And
even when
they're
you went
not
to
utilizing that building good at all.
Flint, you would see, I mean, literally, and I mean literally, miles of almost brand new factories that all closed up when the car industry collapsed,
yeah,
right? But at the same time, the U.S. needs huge amounts of stuff manufactured, and
yeah.
they can't seem to figure out like how to make it happen. We've got the buildings, we've got the infrastructure, you've got all of the parts here. Pick something to build, anything.
Right. And speaking of
Yeah, it gets
infrastructure,
people jobs.
right? And speaking of infrastructure, I mean, I'm just every time I'm in the city, and I'm always seeing like some of these pillars on the verge of collapse that hold our train systems. I'm just thinking, when do we at least even update our train systems a bit, just for like the
I think we are
future?
now
Exactly.
the only modern country that doesn't have a high speed rail system. But on the same note, seeing how they maintain our rails, that's probably a good idea. I don't need a bullet train smacking into an
Why
explosive, toxic train at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah,
why is Disney's train taken care of better than the rest of the world's train is all I'd like to know.
that
Because I'm
Why is
sure Disney
Disney's
got
train taken care of better than
that's a really
hauling
scary thought.
chemicals?
because Disney probably hired actual engineers to build their and maintain their train system, where we hired a guy that got married in a train system, in a train station,
Man, I mean, that's how
right? So
terrible it is.
look, Pete Buttigieg is not qualified to run the Department of Transportation in any way, shape, or form. It is no doubt on why it's exploded, and some of it is not all on him. He's not a stupid man. I'm not saying that. But if you would put an actual engineer in that position, an actual union worker, a dock worker in there, right? Somebody that worked in the transportation industry, their lifetime of knowledge, they don't have to learn anything new. When something happens, they know who exactly to call. They know exactly how to act. You have to learn all of that from scratch. That's
Right.
why you would never put somebody at the head of the Department of Transportation that has no experience in transportation. That's insane.
There should be better regulations. There should be, check your points like you would a truck driver, like 28-point inspection or whatever
You
it is
need
before
you
you
need to
get on the
minimum be
road.
qualified in the job and
Even
position you're taking over
Right.
in
and
the
when you're
government.
hauling hazard material, every time you stop, you need to do the point inspection to get back in the truck to keep moving forward.
Well, that's the
Why
deal. They
aren't
keep
we
on rolling
having
back.
train
They make these
conductors like
laws.
that?
They had a lot of those laws, but you go through and they slowly dismantle them. They've rolled back a lot of the safety precautions. They
We
defunded
need more
the
ballsy
EPA.
people in the train department that's going to tell them I'm not moving this train with this hazardous shit with the condition the train's in and the track
We
ahead.
may need, when it comes to toxic, when it comes to hazardous material, we may need to nationalize our rail system. It's a national security issue. And I
Yeah.
It
think at this
is.
point, it's more than obvious this is something that you're not going to be able to handle for profit.
No. I
There
mean,
is no profit in this when there's so much mess
no.
that needs cleaned up. This is the break even.
Right.
Well, we can't. It's a national security issue. We can't risk you blowing up a town every 6 months because you wanted to make a little bit of extra money. That's just not going to work for us. So there may, with especially hazardous material, it may need to be have the Army Corps of Engineers take over, and it just needs to be nationalized. We can't afford
Right.
to have our small towns and waterways, destroyed again because Berkshire Hathaway wanted to make a little bit extra money.
Right.
This could be considered a Coast Guard issue like, the Coast Guard
Well, it's
being that
on who
should
it takes place. I, I would suggest the Army Corps of Engineers,
yeah.
being
But
that they
I
would
was
have the
just
most
meaning because it's
experience with
infecting
trains,
our
with
waters.
transportation.
Yeah, but it
Well,
was
yeah, but the Coast
infecting
Guard
all
can
our
only deal with it
waters.
on the coast.
Right.
But shouldn't that go along with our rivers that go up through our freaking nation?
Nah, they break all of that stuff up. They compartmentalize it pretty hardcore, and you can't
That's
like
so
overstep one to the
stupid that
other,
they
or
can't
they
go.
get all stressed
That's so
out.
stupid because you can go up the Mississippi and end up in Ohio, basically in my back door. So
Yeah, and
it's
I
like
think like a
that's
certain distance
fucked
off the
up.
Mississippi, I think some of that is handled by the Coast Guard and then port authorities and all of that, but
It
it's
should
super
be.
limited.
But
I mean,
in
that whole
cleanup, yeah, they should be involved in that because it does come up through the mouth of all the openings that do end up into our
It just
nation.
has to be nationalized. It's too much of a
Yeah.
risk to let just to just let it slide, right? And I think we've seen that. We're kind of waiting the vinyl hydroxide or whatever. That's not even the nastiest shit that's on some of these trains,
Yeah.
right? And some of these train stations, Ohio was bad, right? Let it hit downtown Chicago.
And not only that, there were
Jesus
other
Christ.
chemicals in that train derailment that they weren't really talking about. I think there were four total that were on that train that ended up on fire and then blowing it up and, burning it off.
And the
There was like a
longer
total of like four chemicals along with the vinyl chlorine or chloride or whatever the hell they want to call it. You know,
and the longer that goes on, the more hidden those facts will be. Right. So all the things that we know as being 100% true now, as time goes on, and their PR teams and their bot scientists and politicians, right, as they get more and more involved, you'll see that area start to become more and more grayed. Right. Think of the
right.
leadership being held accountable in Flint. Right. A completely cut and dry open case. You took bribes and poisoned a city's waterway and then lied about it, right? Within 10 years, you're now the ambassador, a foreign ambassador, and that whole story has been grayed, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing will happen in Ohio. Same things, Standing Rock, right? How many pipeline leaks are we now at? 5
Yeah.
on the DAPL pipeline. But again, the longer that goes on from these accidents, they use everything. They'll be, Bud Light has a trans person on thing. That's all next week. What about Ohio?
Yep.
Right? And that's done on purpose. We used to
Well,
really have to deal with controlled opposition, right?
yeah.
But that really stopped, at the beginning of the Trump administration. Since then, we have now lived to distraction media, right? So
Yeah.
rather than try to control a group, I will put something out that gets everybody so divided, right? That's all you talk about, and what's actually going on is ignored,
Yep.
right? You could be losing a war in Europe, and Bud Light will be on trending on social media, will be on the top of everybody's pages. They will ask them at a press conference after torturing Julian Assange for almost 12 years, right? And they will be talking about Bud Light.
Yeah. That's fucked up.
I
Distraction media.
It is. I
that
mean,
that
not
breaks
only
me
the,
with what his family's going through with not
yeah.
having him around.
Yeah. But I
His
mean,
kids and his lady and his mom. I feel so bad for them.
yeah.
We set precedents for that, right? So as you see now over the world over, journalists are getting arrested. Journalists are getting arrested in Russia, and they're being charged with exactly what we're charged Julian Assange with,
Right.
right? The exact same charges, the exact same way. We set precedent for that. If you
I
want to
mean,
know why people are being tortured all over the world, right? Guantanamo. We set precedents for that.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
said, if we catch you, we are going to torture the fuck out of you. And they said, all right, well, if we
Abu
catch you,
Ghraib.
we're going to torture the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
We
Abu
set the
Ghraib.
precedent for
Right.
that.
Well, one, there's that, and
Yeah.
two,
Like
it's like,
things like Abu Ghraib too. I mean, that was disgusting. That was horrendous. That was sick of what they were
But
ordered
again,
to do.
we set the precedent for that. As you see, the Wagner Group, right? You know, rape and pillage its way across eastern Ukraine, right? We set the precedent from that with Blackwater, right? We showed what buying yourself a private military army and what you could get away with it. We set that with Blackwater. And then we let the owner, right, war criminal, out of prison to continue mercenary work for the U.S. government.
Yeah, we did.
And then 15 years later, right, they took that blueprint and they're using it in the Wagner Group. They could be the same guy. We set precedent for that.
Right. And to go back to the cover-ups and all these things, you know, in Flint, it got covered up so easily because they're like, oh, you know what? Schneider's a Republican. Let's charge him. We'll leave everyone else alone. And so that's kind of what swept that story under the rug with Flint. And as for some of these other issues, yeah, it is distraction media because everyone's got so much ADHD. All they do is pay attention to the nonsense, like at Bud Light, as if anyone drinks Bud Light anymore with half a brain. Like anyone, like if you drink Bud Light, like if it took you Dylan Mulvaney to stop drinking Bud Light, I'm gonna assume that your tongue has been burnt, your taste buds have been burnt for the last 20 minutes.
What I want to know is after them losing their shit over Bud Light, what are they going to do about all the country songs?
Yeah.
Like every other country song mentions fucking Bud Light. Every other one. Right? Did they bleep it out? Right? Did they what are you going to do with
They
all of
should
those
just
songs?
put a fart sound. They
I
should
got a
go.
Bud Light every single day and night. It don't feel right, my girl. No, not so tight. What are you gonna do? Like, I mean, not to make fun of country music, but you want to talk about a genre that's not all the way straight.
It rhymes with late night. That's the problem. Like it rhymes with night, and if you're gonna make a song, it's.
But to be fair though, country music's not all the way masculine either. I mean, think about it. You have a bunch of men dressed up in leather, crying about like why their lives are miserable.
My dog.
I guess I listen to music and drink alcohol for completely different reasons. I have never listened to a song and been like, is that a masculine tune or feminine? It's just never crossed my mind. I've never drank a beer and thought, is this a masculine beer? I've never, not one time has that crossed my mind.
The only time it's crossed my mind for alcohol is if it's like a mixed drink or something. That's about it, not for beer.
Well, you know what? And before, when I was a young man, right, when we were in college, it was fucking rot gut all the way, right? We were taking shots of the nastiest stuff you can possibly imagine. And the worse it tastes, the more we wanted to fucking drink it to prove that you had a pair. Fair enough. But then I went to the islands and I discovered all the wonderful fruity fucking drinks that they have over the world. I am not wasting my time. You bring me a drink that tastes like sunshine with an umbrella in it right now. I don't care whether you feel it's masculine or feminine or not. That tastes like fucking coconut, and I love it.
The next time we meet at like another op, am I mixing you a cranberry and vodka?
Go nuts.
Okay.
Go nuts.
How
I like drinks.
I call
like in Star Trek. I want a drink that looks like it's from the future.
All right.
Put some orange juice in it. Call it a screwdriver twist and put some orange juice in it with the cranberry and vodka.
All right, hold on one second. Let me get a drink that I like to have. And yes, I'm more of the uppity type, less of the whole. I'm more of the uppity type. Let me give you. I'm going to show you the type of drinks I like.
Oh.
He went by.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of excited. Is he mixing up a drink?
But I drink.
Did we start something?
Okay? I
Good
drink
Lord.
5-time distilled vodka. It's been distilled 5 times, so there's no impurities in this shit. So it's cleaner than my fucking drinking water.
Sad part. See, the fact that a joke like that is funny tells you how screwed up her water is. But anyway, that's the type of drinks I like to have.
Oh. Wow.
Here, I'll bring next time we meet at an op, and then Mr. Black Coffee, Australian coffee liqueur. I just go
I would
straight
love to
for it. I
try
got
that.
the sugar, and I got the sugar, the caffeine, and the alcohol. I'm just gonna get it all together. Fuck it.
Mango
Yeah.
mimosas.
Yeah, well, we'll make. Don't worry. You know what we're gonna do. Next time we have like an activist event, we're gonna set after we're done with our routes and everything. We're gonna set one of the rooms gonna turn into a bar, and we're just gonna have all
The last one, I don't remember. I don't even remember what we were drinking. I remember playing the guitar.
I had like a bunch of red apples. I remember.
I remember. I remember having to kick dude out of Joe's bed.
Yeah, that I remember.
And that's it, man.
Dude, you want to know something crazy? Our route finished so early that Daryl and I just bought like I bought like a 12-pack of Red's Apple. He bought like a 6-pack or a 12-pack of Coors, right? And he's just playing the guitar. We're smoking weed or whatever, right? Like because you know, Mom's sick for some reason had this bright idea of like buying up more water and finishing around at 11 p.m. and paying extra money for the U-Haul. While our team was like, fuck it. We did our routes. Let's finish it. Let's save some money. Let's go. See you later. Like most of our team went to sleep. Daryl was awake, and it got to the point where like you and Daryl playing on the guitar, and then you were like, "What the hell is this? Let me try this." Okay, cool. And then we ordered Domino's pizza there, and we asked him, "Wait," and then we say, "Hey, yeah, we want like jardinera and like spinach and tomato on there." You're like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Who? He's like, yeah, we're from Chicago. We're from the Midwest. That's how we have. Like we always have peppers on our pizza. But it was and then Daryl, of course, because he can't stop part, has to outdo himself, passes out in Joe's bed. And Joe's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Who the fuck is this? And why are you in my bed?
Right.
No, like we did our original route, and then we had who was it? Mark from the Hulk movies.
From the Hulk movies?
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Are we talking
Who
about
plays the Hulk? Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, that guy.
Mark Ruffalo had made like after we did our whole thing, we did another one, and then he made a donation like at the end of our route. So we went all the way back, bought new filters, new water, filled the truck up, and then came all the way back. That was the only reason it took us so long, was that like we literally finished the last one and then he made another donation.
No, but you guys didn't take nearly as long as Mom's sack. Like Jennifer,
they had a huge hold like U-Haul truck. I had the dually.
No, like I'm saying, like one that them and I, we had the same U-Haul truck too. Our team had it as well, but they took so long because they got to more donations, and they just like instead of like giving water to people on the route, they just randomly gave water to everybody. Where they had to refill, they had to go to Walmart twice just to refill water. By the time they got home, that's when Daryl was still passed out in Joe's bed, and then we're just doing live streams with random people about Flint. It was just nuts, and then like this random family was like yelling about what's wrong with Flint, and we ended up eating barbecue. It was delicious.
Oh yeah, they were like they did have a room, but like the kids were living in the car.
Yeah, I think they were all in the so they were like cooking barbecue out of the car. It was delicious though, because they had like the
it was amazing
truck, and they were just happy that I was there yell in front of the camera, and I'm like, all right, you know what, more content the better. Yeah, I want to tell you what's really wrong with this. But yeah, okay.
Oh, I mean, come on. By the time you've had to leave your house and you're trying to like maintain your family, right? Like out of a hotel room, you're pissed.
Oh yeah.
Right? You're like someone is fucked up.
Yeah.
It wasn't them, right? They were trying to live.
They were,
what I mean?
Very hospitable people.
Oh, they were trying to have a bit of normality on a Saturday night with their family. Like, who doesn't want to have a barbecue? But the system is definitely trying to fucking crush you.
Well, that's probably the only time I was like, damn, white people know how to cook with flavor.
It's because we were outside of Chicago.
But that was really good though. It was really good. It's like, I mean that was delicious, and it was just a fun time, because, especially with
I can't believe Harsh is here. Is like, wow, this is really good. And you're telling me white people made this? This is really good.
what can I say?
Hey, T, come here, come here. White people made this chicken. It's good.
I was like, yeah, this is nothing flavor. Maybe it's because I was completely wasted. I don't know. But the bottom line is, it was a fun time, and of course, Moon was there, and he was being goofy, and everyone else was just like, it was just.
Mom Sec are some of my favorite people, man.
Oh, they are.
Hardcore,
They are.
hardcore.
Yes.
So when are we setting a march to East Palestine to get this water all situated?
Like, I'm steady. Besides, trying to help out the Strider campaign, I am steady preparing for the wildfires and hurricanes this year. Like, we have to have our shit together, and 1,000 times more than we even had last year.
So
Right? We had some of our equipment stolen, which did put us back a little bit, but it is what it is. The delivery drones alone cost me 20,000 a pop.
Right. So
Like,
so basically that's
like
3 to
it's
6 months then. He's got 3 to 6 months to prepare for all that.
no, I got about a month. I got about a month before they start hitting.
Well, hurricanes are usually big in June and July.
Wildfires are already starting.
I thought wildfires are October.
We would love that to be the case.
Oh, damn.
Ohio, last week we had
Like,
a no
Wisconsin's
burn
on fire
ordinance.
right now.
We couldn't throw a cigarette butt on the ground. We weren't allowed to light a match in certain areas. I mean,
It's bad.
we've had a drought at one point. Now it's like raining like crazy on and off. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so between the delivery drones, search and rescue drones, those are all outfitted with thermal cameras this year. So we can help, find people, search and rescue. A lot of times search and rescue has to go house to house, car to car, right? We're here, we can fly the drone over. It marks, where there's thermal activity. We can say, hey, there's people that need rest there, and move on. The shipments to Haiti are still going, but if we could bump those up. I mean, like I said, the only thing that holds us back is support. I'm just one dude, right? So right now, this is all funded by my day trading. We haven't gotten a donation in, I think, over a year.
Hold of me. Yeah, Aaron Brockovich, please get a hold of me so we can get something going.
Right.
If she's watching, like I said, we have a whole bunch of celebrities that watch the show, that contact me, but it's always hush hush. And some of it is I talk a lot of shit, right? And they've got careers to worry about and all of that. I do understand, right? But it is always interesting for them to give you support, but it's always on the way by.
Well,
but
like even Sicko with Michael Moore doing what he did. I mean, we need someone.
But then what? Like Michael Moore is a great example of, dude, like, besides talk, then what?
Right.
Right. Okay. So you made $1 million off of one, and he's made a whole bunch of them. Right. You've made multi-million dollars. Your name to fame in our recent times was your Flint movie, right? And it's up to us to be moving truckloads of water back and forth to Flint? Where the fuck are you? You're a multi-millionaire.
Exactly.
Yeah, Michael Moore has a net worth of at least 30 million. If he wanted to, it's raised from 30 million to 65 million. If he cared about Flint that much, he would have been hiring people to donate water to everyone in Flint, Michigan.
I'm not saying that you have to be Jesus Christ. You couldn't have decked out every single school in Flint with drinkable with water filters.
A minimum.
Right.
Minimum. He should have been
right. Like, there's plenty of places. I'm not saying that, as Michael Moore, that you needed to go down and personally hand every single person, a lifetime supply of water. But you could have helped, and you could have helped in a big way.
Well, not even help.
Even filters.
Even
filtrations and extra filters or something, along.
But it didn't have to be lifetime. It could have just been for the next for a span of 3-4 years, that has curbed a lot of
How many
the.
how many mansions do you need?
Hmm.
Like, how many mansions do you need before you can start helping? 1, 2, 4? Give me a number. How many mansions do you need before you start giving back to the people that you're making money off of?
Right. I mean, that just tells you that Michael Moore didn't really care about Flint at all.
It's not just Michael Moore. We cannot, as I said in the beginning, if we are going to wait for celebrities and millionaires and the nearest nexus billionaire or some fucking, politician to save you, whether it's Bernie Sanders or it doesn't matter. That is
Right.
never going to happen. It has never happened in all of human history.
Right. And the person that's I got a news flash for these people like that. The person who is able to help you, who is going to help you, is probably going to get shot before they get a chance to help you. So you have to do it on your own, unfortunately.
Or get bought
Right.
out and told to go walk away.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, at a certain point, it is what it is. Yeah. So the person that does actually start, that does help, look at my life. Right. The most that I have ever done in this world is help get solar, water from air systems, food to people that need it, water to Flint, right? Internet and drones to Standing Rock, right? That's all I've done, right? I get attacked by mercenaries.
Right.
I get censored. I get blacklisted. Right, like it never ends, and I have never done anything to deserve any of that. I have never done anything but try to help people.
Right.
The people that I talk shit about, right, are warmongers and child molesters.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
Right. I mean, they
deserve to be talked about in the manner that they get talked about.
But you know what I mean? They openly attack me, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to keep moving forward.
Right, and that's why you can't even stay in the same state or the same country because you keep getting attacked.
Oh yeah, but I mean that's fine. There's always somewhere that needs help. Like whatever, I'm fine with I move around constantly because I move from wherever one disaster is to the next. I'm fine with that.
Right now, I got a question with Wisconsin. Is it on fire because of natural resource, or is it on fire because half of Green Bay set it on fire after Aaron Rodgers wanted to leave? That's what I'm wondering. Knowing how crazy people are.
On fire's on fire to the people on the ground.
Must have just lit it on fire.
On fire's on fire for the people on the ground.
That is true. Oh no, Aaron is leaving us for Jordan Love. We gotta light this place on fire. Oh no. Now those fucking Illinois bastards think they can actually win a game. Oh no! Light this place down. Burn it down.
Burn it down. Burn it down. It's not worth it.
Burn it down. It's not worth it. Giannis is injured too. Burn it down. Burn it down.
I'm not super bad, but some of my brothers and sisters, because I grew up an Army brat, right? So I wasn't raised in Wisconsin. We didn't move there until I was like 19. So I don't have a very thick Wisconsin accent. I still sound like an Army brat, kind of. We're from Pennsylvania.
You sound like a generic person. Yeah.
But they all have super thick Wisconsin accents.
No.
They're all about this and about that. Oh my god, it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
You say hi to the Janskis. Well, we need to go make some more cheese curds.
I remember the first time I had flown in. I was living in Germany, and I had flown into where we were before, where we'd lived before, which was in Texas, in San Antonio. And my parents had gotten out of the military. My family had retired right on San Antonio. So I get off the plane, get to the house, knock on the door, and there's a whole nother family there, right? And I'm all like, have you seen the Daniels? Do you know? And they're all like, they had no idea what I was on about. So I went to some of our family friends, and they said, oh yeah, we got the number, we'll call you. I call them, and they're all like, oh, we're in Wisconsin. And I was all like, oh, why? I thought maybe they were there for the Dells, there's a big water park and stuff up there, they had taken the kids. And they're all like, oh no, we moved up here, we're buying a farm. And I was all like, but But why? So then I get tickets, I get up there, and we're driving back, and everybody is talking about these fucking cheese curds. And they're like, oh, you got to try cheese curds. I've never had one. And it just did not sound appetizing. Like, oh, are you sure you don't want any curds on the way by? I'm like, nope, no, I'm good, thanks, man. Oh, they come in all sorts of things. You got to get some. You got to get some cheese curds. You got. I'm like, really, I'm fine. Just I don't want to stop and get cheese, thanks, and I don't want to stop and get curds, whatever the fuck that means.
You
And
wouldn't
then
have
they
to
tried to
worry
make it
about milk,
sound.
cheese, or butter here, so you ain't got to worry about
They
dealing with
tried
that
to make it
traffic.
sound better. They're all like, oh, they're good if they squeak on your teeth. And I was all like, what? No, I don't.
Oh yes.
And now, like 20 years later, when I pick people up at the airport, I'm like, oh, you guys want to get some cheese curds?
Oh, no.
Oh,
Oh yeah. God, that'd be great.
no, moving to Washington was kind of, they're not fucking around when they talk about it rains here non-stop. It has rained every single day since I've been here.
Yeah.
And when I went in 2011, it was like that, and I was still walking all over the place.
Oh
I
God,
didn't
like
care.
it doesn't like,
I went
when I
back to
say
my
raining,
hotel room soaking wet.
Yeah.
it does like everybody just kind of continues doing life in the non-stop rain. It's not cold.
Right.
So like when when they would ask me for a couple of times, it did get like chilly down here, a little bit below freezing. I had just gotten here from negative 50 degrees in Wisconsin.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh, aren't you cold?" I'm like, "It was almost swimming weather."
You know, like
Yeah.
that's the thing about rainy weather. It's still like it's still warm enough to wear shorts.
It's
Oh, it's
because of
50
the warm
degrees.
ocean. You got
Right.
the warm ocean breeze coming up through that part of the area, the state.
Just for
So,
anybody that's watching to keep up, we are going to do a flyover of the J Pod of the orcas here, and then when they release the orca from Florida up here in the Pacific, we're also going to do a flyover of her release.
Oh, when is
It's
that
gonna
gonna
tag
rock.
me. Tag me.
It's all up in the air for her release time.
be? Okay. Tag the page. Tag me too. Let us know.
Yeah, I'll live
Yeah,
stream
let
it,
us
and then
know
I
about that.
will.
That'd be awesome.
Right.
It's gonna be once in a lifetime. Like it's
Speaking
gonna
of which,
rock.
after the show, we do have to talk about like who we can get on for next week's show or the week after's. Because I know Thursdays you do with Strider, right?
Yeah, but his is normally only once a month. Just that I mean, he's running we're running a whole Senate campaign, right?
Okay.
Like he can come on in a live stream, but like he's on this show, like he's on NPR coming up. He has the healthcare, the Medicare for all stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Like we can tag him for certain stuff, but just
Right.
and most of the time it's got to be a specific topic.
Okay.
Like before I can, you know what I mean? Before I can go to him and even approach something
All
like
right.
that.
Okay.
And this Senate run's going to be difficult, right? Like this is going to be an uphill battle. So we definitely are happy to have like all of the support we're getting to begin with.
Right.
And this is like running. This is the fifth or sixth campaign that I've ran. And I think we're going to do well out of this one. We're 3 out of 3. Let's make this. Let's make this.
Send me his campaign sign. I'll put it out in my yard.
Definitely. And there's the website because he gave out the website before, the davidstriderforsenate.com.
Right.
And that's got like all of his policies and all of that. He's a good guy. He's a really great guy. I really hope we can get him into office.
Bit, so he really is an awesome guy. And
yeah, I mean, if we can get
done so much for my family and those who are close just by using his voice and that.
Even before I took over as his campaign manager, like he is always the times that I've asked him, through our travels, through any of that, he's always been down for the cause in like 100%, enough where you kind of feel like you got to hold him back a little bit sometimes. Like he gets that like Marine switch turns on, and I mean he is ready.
Yeah, he is,
it's
absolutely.
good though. having that kind of energy is good though that we need.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead of
definitely.
like laid back, letting shit go on, creating another issue. Let's like clean up what's already there.
No,
You know, it's
he's what I would refer to as a man of action, right? Like
yeah,
he really, and I don't like. I give credit where credit is due, but I don't give it out very often, right?
right.
And he's the real deal. I don't know, Harsh, you got any last minute questions for me?
Well, if we're doing a show on next Thursday, is there any way we could get some special guests on?
I mean, what do you want? Who do you want?
I'll mention it. I'll mention it off the air. I'll mention it off the air. I got to talk to you afterwards for a little bit.
All right, yeah, I'll see what I can. I'll see what I can do. There's, like I said, I like we do have a lot. We do have some pull. You know what I mean? We do
Right.
there's no. We've got a big enough following that a lot of times people answer us not because they want to, but because they have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when's the next time you
They
want to
feel
come on the show, then?
obligated, huh?
It's not just like once your numbers get to a certain like once you get a certain amount of numbers, you get a certain amount of followers. When you post on something, when you reply to something, it's gonna get action on that post.
Right.
So
Right.
they can't ignore it. They have to reply in some way, or you only have my side of the story, right? Or
Exactly.
whatever the question is. So a lot of times you can normally act if somebody said, "Hey, can you come on our podcast?" Right?
Right.
You can ignore it completely. They only got 1,000 followers. That's not good or bad, but that just allows you to be able to ignore it. When they get into the millions of followers, you have to somehow acknowledge it, or they're just going to say, "Hey, I invited them, they didn't come," right? And then
Exactly.
you have to fight all of
Yeah.
that,
Exactly. No,
right?
that's
So
true.
it does have an advantage, and it's just a numbers game. It's just a numbers game, and they'll disrespect you for not having those numbers. It's something that I'll go through if somebody comments on my page, right? Especially if it's something that's intriguing, right? I check and look, like, you know what I mean, who they are, whatever. If you're a doctor in the field, right, then no matter how many followers you have, you should be listening to that person,
Right.
right? If they come up and you look up and you're talking about trains and they're like, well, I've been a union train operator for 40 years, right? You probably listen to
Yeah.
what the fuck they have to say,
You would
even if
hope.
they, regardless of how many followers they have.
Right.
But in this
Mhm.
world, we only respect somebody because they've got a million followers behind their name,
Right.
right?
So
It's bogus.
it is.
It,
So
yeah,
when?
I think it's
All right.
fucking silly.
It's retarded. That's why we live in a country full of retards.
Oh, who do you want to listen to? A brain surgeon or some celeb with a million followers? Oh, well, obviously the celebrity.
Yeah. But
He
anyway,
played a doctor on TV.
exactly. Anyway, the point being is, when's the next time you both want to come on the show?
You said we kind of shoot for Thursday. I am like busiest dude on the fucking planet, man. Yeah, let's
Thursday's
let's let's
good
try to
for
shoot.
me.
Yeah,
There.
let's try to shoot for a Thursdays. And I'll see what we
Yeah.
can do, because if you want to bring some other people on, or you have somebody in mind, they've got their own schedules,
Of
right?
course.
So we have to really be able to work with when they want to do it, and a lot of times it can be a little bit out,
Right. Absolutely.
you know.
Thursdays are a little odd during the week, so it's
They
kind of
are.
easier to find people on a Thursday than it would be like a Wednesday or a Monday or a Friday.
Yeah.
Fridays are difficult. People got shit going on Fridays. They want to spend time with
Yeah,
their
that's
families.
why I'm
Like
thinking
Fridays are
Thursdays
just
are
in live
good.
streams in general. People will watch them after the fact. On Monday morning they're watching them. But I don't want to take away from everything that's going on. Just a lot of people
Yeah.
have got their
Fridays,
lives
people
on a
like me
Friday.
want to. On Fridays, people like me want to be out and about. We don't want to be stuck behind a screen for 3 hours. But anyway,
Yeah.
on that note, this has been another edition of the Harsh Reality. We thank our guest Terrence Daniels and Pamela Jean Rowbottom for joining the show. This is Harsh Schmidt signing up. I love you. The life is harsh, but I live it. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your weekend. And FYI, stay on the link. You two stay on the link after this show's over for a minute.
Roger
And take
that.
care, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. And tune in tomorrow
Much
morning
love
when I
and
just randomly talk about life. And tune in on Sunday when maybe Hard Honer and I think of something. Okay.
Much love and blessings,
Uh,
y'all.
Thanks everyone. Thanks everyone. Support the revolution. Fuck
Yeah.